everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got an epic show ahead, but just remember, if any of you have experiences you'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you. You can either email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com or head over to paranormalportal.net and scroll down and find the button that says Interview Me, and that'll allow you to look at a calendar of possible times and dates and find a date that works for you. Love to hear your stories, so definitely get in touch with me. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and we are about to embark on yet again another fascinating adventure into the Paranormal Portal. And hope you all are doing great out there. Thank you all for all the love and support. I've got an amazing show lined up for you. We have a returning guest on the show today, and this is exciting because we had an amazing discussion the first time around, and I can't wait to see where we go this time. And I'm speaking of David Masters, who is an award-winning creator across television, radio, podcasts, and social media. And he's also an author, and he's got 2 books under his belt, War of Whispers, The Eternal Conflict for the Freedom of the Human Soul, and Invisible Spiritual War, which is evidence and truth exposing interdimensional entities, and a forthcoming book called Echelon Black, Human Performance Optimization, Advanced Intuitive Decision Making. And he is joining us today to take us further on his journey. So David, welcome to the show, brother. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you for having me back, man. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. We've got a great chemistry when we start talking, so I'm really excited to see where we can get to today. So where are we going today?
Where would you like to start? I mean, listen, I have been a UFO experiencer my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And it started when I was mentioning to you, when I was around 12 years old, living in Hawaii. My parents moved us there when I was very young. And we lived right on the beach. So one day I'm sitting out on the seawall, watching the sun go down, and I see this little black dot right out in front of me, bobbing up and down where the waves would, it would disappear behind the swells, and then it would reappear. And I thought, what is that out there?
Yeah.
And I watched it for about 15 minutes. The sun had set. There's a big jumbo jet coming, let's say, from left to right. It's going to land in the Honolulu airport. And all of a sudden, this thing lifts straight up out of the water, straight up. 1966 now.
Yeah.
We didn't have that technology as far as I know. Got right behind the airplane and then followed it for maybe a mile and then went straight out into space. And I cannot unsee that.
Oh, my God.
It's emblazoned in my mind. So I've been aware of stuff my whole life.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That's incredible. Now, prior to that, what was your opinion on this whole UFO topic? Were you open to it, or where were you at?
Okay. Well, prior to that, I have to say that I've always been sort of a science fiction oriented kid. I remember, when I was in 5th or 6th grade, I would sit in the library and I would pull out the books that were science fiction books that had really cool covers, and I would stare at the covers. I wouldn't even look at the book. I would just sit there and build these imaginary worlds around these amazing science fiction covers. And again, these are stories back when I was a kid that was, originated around in the 50s. So, the H.G. Wells and all of the great classic literature was what I was really interested in, and H.G. Wells' Time Machine and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And, they used to make great science fiction movies back in the day.
Yeah, they did. They really did.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you saw this in was it a moment of transformation for you in regards to how you ended up aiming your life after that, or was that the pivotal moment that kind of directed your path?
Well, when you see something that you can't make sense of, something like that,
Yeah.
you might spend the rest of your life thinking about it and wondering, which I have.
Yeah.
And my wife thinks I'm a little bit wackadoodle because I'm always looking at the sky, trying to, what is that up there? And she's a Christian, so she's not quite sure about the subject yet.
Yeah.
Even though it's all over television now, even though the United States, the president and Marco Rubio and all these people are talking about it on documentaries. But yeah, I spent my whole life wondering what on earth or in heaven had I seen. And I think that has to necessarily drive curiosity. For me, it was just an endless curiosity. But I did have, in my very early years, some very strange experiences. And so, today there's a lot more talk about portals.
Sure.
Well, I had one in the middle of my forehead when I was a child. And every once in a while that portal would open up and I would be able to see something intuitively like right in the middle of my forehead. I could see things. And so I remember one time I was about 8 or 9 years old. I walked to my friend's house down the street from where I was living. And I stood outside of my friend's house, and that moment happened where that opening occurred, and I looked inside that kid's life, and I didn't like what I saw. Mm. And so something said to me, just go home. And I did. And I actually never went back over there again. Because, I don't even remember what it was other than I felt like there was some family conflict in that home.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I remember beginning my journey very, very early and being obedient to this intuitive self that was already emerging when I was little. And so just to give you an example, Jason and the Argonauts was a famous movie, right? Most people who love science fiction would know about this movie. I think Richard Widmark was the guy who played Jason. Mm-hmm. And I will never forget when he was looking for the Golden Fleece, he was on this voyage, the Isle of the Sirens, and then they landed on this island where this poor man who had been blinded was being tormented by these harpies, these bat-winged creatures, right?
Yep.
They'd come down and take his food, leave him just enough, just to barely survive. Well, again, when I was around 12 years old, I had an experience where I woke up one morning to the sound of wings flapping, big wings.
Oh, okay.
And I had this huge glass window right in front of my bed. And I wake up, I rub my eyes, I look out that window, and my God, there was a harpy.
Oh,
outside my window, flapping its huge wings. And I was so freaked out. I actually had a BB gun right next to my bed. I picked up my BB gun. I shot the window, made a hole in the window, cracked the window. My dad comes in. He goes, "What happened?" I said, "Dad, there was this thing outside my window." Mm-hmm. He goes, "It's all right. Don't worry about it." My dad never made me feel shame. And this is one of the problems I think that we run into as children is that children, I have a tendency to see things that other people don't see because they're more available.
Right. Yeah.
They're more open to things they don't understand, or maybe they're being more innocent. They're closer to some other reality.
Yeah.
But I saw that, and it was clear as day to me. And I didn't know what else to do. So, and then I want to flash forward now.
Sure.
Because I've seen things all my life, okay? I've seen all kinds of weird things, especially UAP, unidentified phenomenon, right? Mm-hmm. So about, I'm going to say 15 years ago, I took my family to Santa Barbara for a vacation, and We're walking down State Street toward the Santa Barbara Pier, over this railroad set of railroad tracks where there was a train station. And as I was walking, the sun was setting, and I looked down the tracks, and I saw this little tiny shadow of a human shadow walking across the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
Little tiny shadow. And I thought, that's interesting. And something said to me, I was holding my 4-year-old son at the time in my right hand, and something said to me, switch him over to your left hand.
Mm-hmm.
So I did. And as soon as the switch was made, all of a sudden, walking next to me was a little man that was about 3 feet tall, absolutely white, spiked hair, eyes like teacups.
Wow.
Big, round eyes and sharp teeth.
Ugh.
I mean, sharp teeth. And I look over at this little man, and I said to him, oh, how's it going? He goes, oh, I'm bored. I've been in hell all day.
Oh.
And I thought, oh, my gosh. I look over to my son. He didn't even notice it. And he says, and I can't wait to piss on your grave.
My God, yeah. I remember you sharing that before. That is such a creepy story. Oh.
It was awesome to me, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
So, you know who Mancow is?
Yeah.
He's a good friend of mine.
Oh,
I used to
nice.
produce his radio show.
Okay.
So I had to call somebody, and I screamed at my brother, and his family were walking up ahead of me. He said, you guys see that? No, nobody saw it. So I called Mancow. I said, Mancow, you can't believe what happened to me. I described it, and I thought, that was awesome, because if you are being noticed by these kinds of creatures, and they are telling you they can't wait to piss on your grave, you've got to be doing something right.
Yeah,
It's
true.
not that you're doing something wrong. It's you're doing something right, whatever that may be. And to me, that was just, it was the most clear evidence that I'm on the right path.
Sure. Now, before you said you made a mention of a portal opening in your forehead. Would that be synonymous, do you think, with a pineal opening and closing? Is that another way of saying it?
I think that is true. I mean, they call the pineal gland the mind's eye.
Yes. Yeah.
And one of the things that has been recently revealed about the pineal gland is that it actually can sense light. And that it is actually, you know, the Eye of Horus?
Yes, of course.
The Egyptian signal? It's actually shaped just like an eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, the physical properties of it are like a mind's eye. It's a very interesting thing. It's the master gland of the body.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think there are some people who are born with maybe overdeveloped or differently developed particular types of bodily systems.
Sure.
I mean, and you know, and I've been a lifelong meditator, not transcendental meditation, but be still and know style. You know, Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I'm God. You get out of your own way. You quiet your mind, you open up the portal, and what you get is downloads from God, not from weirdo sources,
Right.
like some of these people. And you know, there's a researcher, Diana Walsh Pasulka. Have you ever heard of her?
I don't think so.
She's a professor of religion at North Carolina State University, whichever one it is. And so she's very prominent. She wrote a book called American Cosmic. She's an amazing person, very, very insightful. But she was talking on the Danny Jones podcast.
Okay.
Concrete, I don't know if you ever heard of that. It's a huge podcast.
Okay.
He does a lot of paranormal stuff, but she was talking to him about these people who take the downloads from these visitors. And she says, never take the download from a visitor. They'll offer you downloads, they'll offer you knowledge, but it's counterfeit knowledge. It's knowledge that's not designed to awaken you, it's designed to scramble you like an egg.
Okay. Now, when you say visitor, are you referring to extraterrestrials, or what does that mean?
Extra dimensionals, I think.
Okay, which was my next question.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you that because there's a lot of ideas about what are these visitors? Where are they coming from? Are they, from the far reaches of the cosmos, or are they just a little vibration away, or are they somehow existing around us and yet cannot be seen or experienced unless they choose? What do you think we're dealing with?
I think that we are dealing with what we call ultra terrestrials.
Okay.
Because look, even Obama the other day said that, oh yeah, aliens are real, but I've never seen them, and it's a conspiracy if they have them in Area 51. Whatever. This guy is so transparent. He's just trying to get back in the, in the limelight, so to speak. But I do believe that if we look back in history, and this is one of the things that's really great about Diana Walsh Pasulka, which is this book that she wrote called American Cosmic, talks about virtual reality and talks about how she's worked with people in the space program. And then she's done research back 500 years to paranormal experiences that other ancient mystic type people have experienced. And she says that those experiences are very much like the experiences that people are having today. They're not almost no different.
Right.
And if you look at some of these classic paintings, you'll see that there are some of them have UFO type objects depicted in the sky.
Yeah.
So how long have these things been around? I think that they've been around maybe since before human beings.
Right.
And so you and I were having a little bit of a conversation about a daimonic realm, which is it's like an intermediary realm between heaven and earth. And then of course the Bible talks about how Satan is the prince of the air. And so taking those things together as an idea, I think that there is an alchemy of sorts that these dynamic forces are able to summon. If you think about it objectively, we hear stories of people who have encounters with angels, as well as demons. Demons are different, but angels often take on human form in terms of how they interact with us. And I mean, these people, they show up and they appear as normal humans, right?
Yeah.
Men in black, men in white. You ever heard of men in white?
I don't think I have. I like that.
Men in white are a phenomenon, though. They're real.
Okay.
I won't get into it right now, but
sure.
These beings show up and they take on and they cloak themselves with a certain form. Okay, so and then we if we look at objectively about cattle mutilations, and you wonder what the heck is a cattle mutilation good for anyway? Could it be that these things use certain parts, certain components for alchemy, to conjure out of that different kinds of material things? And so, remember, going back to Merlin the Magician was supposedly a real person who could create literally precious metals and jewels and all kinds of things through alchemy. So there's a secret missing there, and I may posture to say that maybe the reason why we haven't, or maybe us in general, maybe scientists have an inkling as to what alchemy actually is and what it does and what they can do with it. But for the most part, if we look back at ancient civilizations like Atlantis, you have to think about it this way. Maybe the catastrophic events surrounding, let's say, Atlantis happened to bury the technology that almost destroyed the world. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
That it was put into the dust and the sands of time to keep it from being discovered.
That's
buried.
Fascinating.
Well, think about Göbekli Tepe.
Yeah.
purposely covered 12,000 years ago.
Isn't that something?
It's like, why would they cover it? Why would it get covered in the first place?
Yeah.
So
I think there's a lot lying right in front of our faces, just in looking at the advents and the accomplishments of the ancient world. Much like you're saying, I was just as you were talking, I was thinking of those temples that were, I think in Ethiopia, that were carved out of one giant slab, and they created these ornate, beautiful buildings by just taking away stone. And I'm like, my God, I mean, these are people allegedly with probably Bronze Age materials doing this, and how could that be? I just marvel at it.
Yeah, it's look. I mean, we're talking about Petra. I mean, it's one of the most amazing examples of what you just cited.
Yeah,
they took a side of a mountain and they just carved out this beautiful place out of it. It was a regular trading location on a route, 5,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago. But I watched an interesting documentary about these giant 800-ton, the one stone that's laying on its side. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the way that they were actually removing that stone from the surroundings, it looks like they had some kind of technology that was able to actually melt the stone. This is crazy. Why don't we have that today? Maybe we do. I don't know. Yeah.
There's a ton of questions about that kind of stuff, but I think there's a whole lot of history that we're not getting, and perhaps it's the hubris of science that, well, we know, we already got it figured out, we know, and when they actually don't, because things like that, the melted stone, the Puma Punka ruins in Peru, I think, or Brazil, wherever it is, and
Lake Titicaca.
Yeah, and these slabs, these gigantic granite pieces, are fit with laser precision.
No, it's crazy, but the other thing that's really interesting about it is, if it weren't for whatever that technology was, we wouldn't be able to have any representation today. It maybe would have been all destroyed by natural earth forces, volcanoes and earthquakes and God knows what.
Yeah.
And so we have the evidence of highly sophisticated technological skills, right? But the question is, where did those skills originate? Now, and this whole idea of Darwinian evolution is insane, because even Darwin himself said, I really wasn't suggesting that everything was a product of evolution, rather that most things are a product of natural selection. This is what Darwin said on his deathbed, which is not widely discussed.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, but the idea is that there is a spiritual dimension, and that within that spiritual dimension there are realms. I have to say that there are layers, like there are layers of earth. There are layers of spiritual dimensions in which certain beings or entities, whether it's angels or demons or other things, who knows what they are.
Right.
So I wrote this article, and I want to read a couple paragraphs of it if I can.
Please, I'd be honored.
Okay, so this is on my Substack, David Masters at Substack, and the headline reads, A Metaphysical Examination, UAPs, Spirit Daimones, and the Alchemy of Imagination. So the question is no longer whether these encounters are real or imagined, but whether reality itself includes a responsive middle ground, a daimonic reality, a shared intermediary realm. So what if UFO phenomenon demands a radically different lens, one that dissolves the boundaries we habitually place between technology, mythology, and religion? Now, see, you talk about the myths of people, great people like Hercules, and you go back and there's minotaurs, and there are chimeras, which are these blended beings, right? Animals and humans.
Right.
So what if UFOs, fairy lore, angels, demons, and modern entity encounters are not separate categories at all, but shifting masks worn by the same underlying intelligence. Remember, now they're calling it non-human intelligence, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As it meets human consciousness across time. In this view, we do not observe an external parade of unrelated phenomena. Rather, we participate in a daimonic reality, a shared intermediary realm where non-human intelligence and the human psyche intersect. Now, again, you know, scientists are beginning to theorize, and there are many papers and there's much research on this, that even the dream itself is a separate dimension of reality. And so, you know, and this is how people throughout history have had, you know, prophetic dreams, or have had dreams in which, like Einstein had the dream that he was riding on a beam of light, and from that he derived his theory of relativity.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know
and
that.
So, oh yeah. So in a sense, the dream realm is a tap into, I mean, if you could imagine like a beer keg, you have a tap, right?
Sure.
And you just open the you open the tap and the beer pours out. But what if there's a dimension that pours into humans when they disconnect from the meat side of their brain and the thinking process? That actually gets in the way.
Yeah. Would that be like the Akashic Records then?
It could be.
Okay.
Of course, you know, for me, because I'm a Christian,
Sure.
I'm a bit adverse to Eastern
I understand.
philosophy, but you know, it's like at a certain point you gotta open your mind and you ask. You have an inquiring mind. Inquiring minds want to know. I want to know if there's any truth to any of it. Now, look, the Hindus and the ancient Indian cultures had these things called vimanas, which were flying machines 10,000 years ago.
Yeah. Yep.
And that there was, you know, they're in their the I don't know, I can't even say the Mahabharata, whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
Their history book.
Mm-hmm.
They have stories of people, these beings waging war in the skies.
Yeah.
Well, is it true? I don't know. Maybe it is.
Wow. Man, this is why I love talking to you, because I'm learning as much as I'm listening. This is great.
So here's another paragraph from the story that I wrote on
please.
Substack. It says, these beings appear not according to a fixed form, but according to a symbolic expression, cultural language, and the imaginal capacity of the age, revealing themselves as lights, messengers, tricksters, or watchers. The question then is no longer whether the encounters are real or imagined, but whether reality itself includes a living, responsive middle ground, one in which humanity has always been embedded, yet only dimly remembers how to perceive. Now again, the average person does not have a firewall for their mind. And this is a critical thing, because you know, we're talking now about when they went into Venezuela to take out Maduro, they used directed energy weapons. The people all of a sudden they started feeling sick, they couldn't function. What if some type of psychic weapon is being used against all human beings all the time?
That's a fascinating concept, and I think there's got to be something to that, because I've always thought we are multidimensional beings. It's just for some reason or somehow we've got these blinders on, and we can only experience actively our three-dimensional selves, and it takes a hell of a lot of training and development to be able to become sensitized to these other parts of ourselves.
Well, I think that because we don't have a firewall to keep influences out. See, the problem is that when we're born, we have to have an environmental shaping. And then at a certain point, though, we have to have something to throw off. If we didn't have an environmental force shaping and molding and conditioning and programming us, then we would be like blank pieces of paper, with nothing there.
Right.
And it's sadly, you see some people that are born with certain physical limitations, and I won't name the group of people I'm thinking of, but there are people that have limitations, and they're semi-functional people, but they don't really. You could see that even on their faces, they never develop a unique identity, a unique personality. So we have to have something to throw off. And so part of what we are is a blend of our environment and the conditioning and the programming in that environment. And then there's another part of us, which is what I call the conscious self. And so, there are two blueprints for every human being. One is a blueprint that they follow that has been created for them by other forces, other people, environmental conditioning, programming. And then there's the unique self that exists to go beyond that. And so it's a matter of discovering that you don't have to necessarily be what you've been programmed to be by the environment. This is where it begins right there. Now, for me, it started before I ever even knew what I was dealing with. Like, I always had this sense that there was something more. And then when I started having these very strange experiences throughout the course of my life, being able to see things that other people didn't see, and encountering these spirit entities. And by the way, I've also seen my angels too. So it hasn't just been weird, dark side things. It's been also, when I was 17 years old, I had an argument with my dad. I was so angry. And I couldn't believe it, right? Whatever it is we were arguing about. I think, I'm leaving. I'm never coming back here. And I started walking down my street, and I got about a mile down the road. And all of a sudden, I heard, and it wasn't a voice, but it was in the form of a knowing. There's nothing out here for you.
Oh, wow.
And I stopped right in my tracks, and I thought, where did that come from? It wasn't a voice.
Sure.
It was in the form of a knowing, an intuitive knowing. It's like, wait a minute. So all of a sudden, as I was looking around, it was a cloudy day. I used to live down at the beach. And I looked up in the clouds, and I saw these two watermark imprints of these huge cherubs. Huge.
Wow.
Up in the sky, up in the clouds. And it said to me again, but not with words, go home. There's nothing out there for you.
Oh, wow.
And man, I started trembling, and I thought, I've got to listen to this. See, but again, it has to go back. I had experiences where those same beings, those same cherubic beings, had warned me that I was going to have an accident one day before I went surfing.
Oh.
Did I tell you this story? I don't think I did.
I don't know if you did or not. I'm sorry. I don't recall.
All right. So I'm 18 years old. I pull up to my favorite surf spot, and I'm going to go out surfing. And all of a sudden I hear another warning. And the warning is, don't go surfing today. Now, again, it's not a voice. It's not a verbal command, but it's a form of knowing, like direct communication. And I thought, what the heck? And then it said it again. Don't go out surfing today. And I got angry. And I said, who the hell do you think you are to tell me what I can do? So I went out surfing.
Oh, no.
And sure enough, I fell off my surfboard, and I had a punctured lung.
Oh, God. Wow.
Yeah, and I was the only guy out surfing that day. I was out by myself. So I washed up in the shallow water, and I don't even know how I got there, to be honest with you, because everything is a blank up until that point. And I'm laying there in the shallow water, and I'm realizing I was warned.
Yeah.
I was warned. And so this is how actually my more adult experience began, which is when I was laying there in the water, and I'm looking up into the heavens, and like, I'm going to die. If something doesn't change here, I'm not going to last.
Yeah.
So I cried out to God. I said, look, God, I don't want to live this way anymore. I'd rather be dead. And that was how it started to change. It's like I kind of surrendered to the greater destiny that was in store for me. And my life started changing at that point. So I started using meditation, the be still and know kind, Christian meditation, let go of the thoughts. Because, see, if people don't realize that we're programmed by thoughts.
Yeah.
And we're programmed by language. And we're programmed by culture and environment. And so for me, I had found my way into the surf culture. It was, it was kind of like the early version of being a punk rocker.
Oh, sure.
Surfing was just like, it was a lifestyle thing, man. It was all inclusive parties and girls and all the stuff, cars and everything. Right. It was an all inclusive thing where you could totally load yourself into it. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it was like, I had to come to that realization that wasn't my destiny and that wasn't my identity. Because, see, I realized later on, I used to say, well, you are what you do. Mm-hmm. And to a degree, that's true. But before that, you are what you think. Right. It was Rodin, the great thinker, said, I think, therefore I am. So thought precedes action on every single level. But where do the thoughts come from? That's the question.
Yeah.
Where do thoughts come from? You don't really have many original thoughts. As a matter of fact, I was making a point to somebody the other day. I said, were you born wanting to brush your teeth?
I wasn't.
No. And so there are things that you have to be trained to do, and it has to be reinforced over and over and over and over. But the culture and the environment and the programming that exists within the culture and the environment constantly repeated. Mm-hmm. Over and so after a while, and when you see how people begin to adopt and adapt, mm-hmm. we adopt and we adapt, and we become the thing. I used to produce the Michael Savage show.
Okay.
And so during the breaks, he would say to me, "Did I miss anything, David?" And I'd say, "Well, why don't you make a point about this and this?" Because I would listen. Critical listening to see if there was something that he could make his point even better, right? So he would go, oh, yes, that's good. As soon as I would tell him the idea, he would start to formulate the next part of that, and he would take complete ownership of it. This is what we do as people. We take ownership of ideas that are implanted in us as if they were original.
Right.
As if those are our ideas, as if they came from us. Mm-hmm. Now, I always thought that was a really good attribute. And I was the only person that he would allow to produce his show for 11 years.
Oh, nice.
I had to get away from it because he was very dependent upon me. I had to replace myself so I could get free to do other things. But
sure.
It was something that I understood, and it didn't bother me. And when he would get upset, it didn't bother me. And when he would give me a slap on the back, it didn't make me feel good, because my job was to simply be an observer.
Right.
But that was a sort of a side effect of the life that I was living, a meditative life, a life of objectivity as opposed to a life of subjectivity, a life of reimagining myself each day, starting the day with a fresh perspective, brand new, looking at the world, seeing it for what it is, not for what I am, which is how most people live.
Right.
They see the world as they are. Everything is a projection of their ego.
Sure.
Everything is a projection of their wants, desires, needs, anger, frustration, whatever. We're all projecting this. If your mind was like a movie projector, it would be projecting out from within and creating this landscape and this whole movie. We all have our own movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's intense.
Go ahead.
I'm just wondering, I know that there is so much merit in meditation, and I think one of the things that people have the hardest time with, those people that are trying to adopt this practice into their existence and into their development, is how do you quiet the mind? And I don't think we realize how busy our minds are until you're sitting there trying to quiet it. What kind of feedback would you have to somebody trying to dial in that meditative practice?
I'll give you the perfect example.
Sure.
I was going to give a talk to Amazon warehouse workers. Mm-hmm. I think there are 1,500 of them. So they give you 15 minutes to make your case, to identify the issue, and then to give them some kind of solution, right? Mm-hmm. So I thought to myself, how can I explain the idea of a mindfulness meditation in 15 minutes, both, first of all, identify the problem, then identify the solution. And what occurred to me, and I think this was shown to me as a result of my own meditative practice, I said, as I was standing there, I want you all to imagine a pink elephant. And this is how simple this whole thing is.
Okay.
Brent. This is how really simple it is. I said, close your eyes, imagine the pink elephant. Let me know, everybody raise your hand when you see the pink elephant. Okay, everybody raise their hand. This is a huge crowd of people. I said, now what I want you to do is, with your eyes still closed, I want you to focus your attention down your arm, whichever arm you need to use, into your hand, and focus on your thumb just very gently until you feel a little bit of energy there, until it tingles just a bit. It feels a little bit warm. I said, now go to the next finger, and then shift to the next finger. Just give your attention. Don't force it. Just give it to the next finger and to the pinky. Now I said, now open your eyes. What happened to the pink elephant?
It's just gone, yeah.
Nobody saw the pink elephant. So it is a redirection of your focus. And that is how you calm your mind. Because when your mind is demanding of you, when all these weird things are happening in your head, whether it's anger, fear, frustration, anxiety, whatever it may be, you have to feed it.
Yeah.
You ever see that movie, Little Shop of Horrors?
Long time ago, yeah.
Feed me, Seymour! Seymour had to stick his finger out and the plant sucked his blood. This is what thoughts do to us. They take our life force. See, most people think that thoughts are the answer. No, thoughts are the problem. Thoughts are parasitic by nature. You don't necessarily need 98% of the thoughts that you have. So if you need to brush your teeth in the morning, you develop habits around things that are good for you, just like you develop habits around things that are bad for you.
Sure.
But what is it that precedes the action? It's the thought.
Right.
Now, at a certain point, something says to you, go brush your teeth. But then there's something that comes in and says, have another piece of cake.
I've heard that one.
Right? So,
Yeah.
You see, if you're able to redirect your attention, because wherever your attention goes, your energy flows. So if you're able to redirect your attention away from the donut, I mean, how many times have I been at work and somebody brings in a box of donuts and it's heroin?
Yeah, it's tongue
It's
crack.
heroin for the tongue. How many times, though, have you heard yourself say, don't, just don't? But then when you get into the whole reasoning in your head, then you have a dialogue going on, and there's not only you, but the other part of you that's arguing with you.
Right.
And then by doing that, by the impulse nature that we have to self-satisfy, that becomes a drain, and it doesn't take very long for it to erode your resolve. And there you go. You pick it up and you eat the donut or whatever it is. But if you're able to redirect your attention before you get into the struggle, you're not losing energy to the struggle, and therefore you're not lowering your resistance to giving in. And so this is the idea of a meditative state is actually, it is a way of life, right? Like a diet.
Right.
It actually means way of life. That's what diet means.
Okay.
Dieta, it's a way of life. Meditative life is a little different than every other person's life because every other person depends upon routines and patterns and reinforcement of those patterns. And this is why guys want to go out and hang out with their buddies on a Saturday night and drink beer and do whatever it is. There's a reinforcement that is involved with keeping you in the place, maintaining the status quo. Now, again, the human being is a dualistic creature because we have a higher self and a lower self. Lower self wants what the lower self wants. And that's usually some sort of self-gratification. Higher self says, wait a minute, hold on. You know, like Walt Disney on the devil on one shoulder and the little angel on the other. Yeah. This is a true dichotomy of the human experience. One part of you keeps telling you no.
Right.
And so I'll go back to my life, which is that I started listening. I haven't always listened to myself, and I paid the price. And the price that I paid was, wait a minute, next time listen to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen to your higher self, right? But if you're not tuned in to the pink elephant example, is that if something is there, it is a pink elephant. It only has the staying power that you give it through, and you can become fixated on certain things. But as you become more objective, the staying power of the impulse, whatever it may be, weakens. Mm-hmm. And the higher self strengthens. And you have more resolve and you have more commitment to a direction away from the things that are detrimental for you. Does that make sense?
Sure it does. Yeah, absolutely. I was also noticing the induction method for your meditation is really very similar to inducing hypnosis, in the long form of inducing hypnosis. And I find that fascinating because you do things like focus on relaxing individual parts and going piece by piece through your body. And then,
So, yeah, well, there's a difference. My dad was actually a professional hypnotist who worked with a lot of the movie stars in Hollywood when he was very young.
Okay.
And so one of the things, there's a huge difference. I think this was an evolution of something that he discovered when he was working with people as a professional hypnotist. So people come to him, they wanted to stop overeating and smoking and doing all the harmful things that they were doing.
Sure.
So he would put them into a hypnotic state, give them a suggestion, they'd walk out. 3 months later, they'd come back. Mm-hmm. And so he wondered, what is it that causes a person to lose that connection with the suggestion? And here's the truth. The simple truth is we are always going to be, until we're not, subject to the strongest influence. So you get in the buffet becomes the influence. You get around your friends, the friends become the influence. Mm-hmm. They pull you toward the things that they are moving toward themselves. Influencers, what do we call them today? We call them influencers. So what he began to wonder, my dad, was how do you free people from being subject to all of these detrimental influences? Mm-hmm. And this is what he discovered. This technique my dad discovered 65 years ago. And by the way, this technique is also used in the United States military and at Walter Reed Army Hospital for PTSD.
Oh, okay.
So he discovered this technique, which is this whole learning to give your attention as opposed to having your attention being pulled away from you. Now, the other thing about hypnosis is that hypnosis has to give permission. So, right. In other words, when you're doing I had seen him do many hypnosis demonstrations for huge audiences, 1,000 people. Mm-hmm. All he would do was give a single suggestion to the audience. And again, anybody that's listening, do not do this because I won't be able to snap you out of it. He would say to people in the audience, I want you to clasp your hands together like this. Mm-hmm. And just squeeze them as hard as you can. So you see 1,000 people doing that. Then he would say to you, to the audience, all right, some of you will not be able to unclasp your hands, and those are the ones I want to come up on the stage. And sure enough, there was a dozen people in the audience that would walk up on stage, and this is all unrehearsed.
Yeah.
Okay? But those are the subjects for his hypnosis demonstration.
Sure.
Then he would say, okay, release your hands. See, what they did without realizing it, and there are varying degrees of permission that we give
right.
as we go into these different conditions, hypnotic conditions, we are primed, and that's the primer right there. Some of you will be unable to unclasp your hands. Right. So they took the first suggestion and they deeply embedded it in their psyche so that the second suggestion was also followed.
Yeah.
So the more you are accustomed to following external prompts, right? There's a ladder that you climb down of external prompts until you get to the certain point where you have no self-control, no resistance whatsoever. Those people have struggled and they mask their vulnerability with compensations.
Okay.
And so But those are the most vulnerable people. They have been damaged, traumatized by authority figures. So a hypnotist is nothing more than a sort of magical authority figure. They're telling you what to do, and you are obeying. And it in a subconscious way, you think, look, I'm such a good boy. I'm doing exactly what he told me to do.
Sure. Yeah. Wow.
So the difference between hypnosis and meditation is that meditation is the actual polar opposite. That rather than allowing yourself to be told what to do or what not to do, you are actually choosing to give your attention. And what are you giving your attention to? Anyway, all you're doing is, in the meditation I described, this is not other types of meditation, by the way. This is a be still and know exercise, which allows you to get in touch with your creator.
Yeah.
But you're not actually giving your attention to anything other than yourself. You're
True.
recycling your attention through this loop,
Yeah.
right? It's the mind-body connection.
Mm-hmm.
Most psychiatrists don't understand that. Most hypnotists don't understand it. Yeah. The mind-body connection has to do with realigning yourself in the present moment and not getting shoved or pulled out of the present moment. Because guess what? Nothing exists but in the present moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we run out of time, I want to make sure we have a chance to visit your books, because these are incredible books, and they're just, the depth of what you're covering sounds just amazing. First, War of Whispers, the next, The Invisible Spiritual War, and the forthcoming Echelon Black. So, I mean, you've obviously got this real dialed in, but can you give us kind of a 30,000-foot view of what these books are about?
Well, by the way, I've written over 30 books, just so you know.
Oh, sorry.
Those are my latest books.
I'm underrepresenting to you, obviously. I'm sorry about that.
I've written a lot of books.
Yeah.
One of my favorite books, and it was actually the first book, which is the basis of the name of my website, escapeyourmindsprison.com. So, again, I'm going back to 1999 when I watched The Matrix for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the most profound movies ever made. It's probably the most metaphysical science fiction movie ever made.
Yeah.
Because Morpheus is trying to break people out of the spell of the Matrix.
Yeah.
Okay. And he talks about something which is so deep. He says, it is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. We live in that metaphysical matrix. So from my point of view, how to escape the prison for your mind, what you have to realize is that we all have a mind prison, that we don't even need bars when our mind is in that prison, that we are subject to hypnotic influences that cause us to live in a substandard condition, and it truncates, it restricts our potential because we're always waiting for permission and looking for direction from others outside ourselves. And so that's the name of my book. It's How to Escape the Prison for Your Mind, how the war between good and evil is won on the battlefield of the mind. That was my first book.
Wow. So powerful.
And it took me 10 years to write that.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
Incredibly profound. But this has been a very literary journey for you then as well, yeah?
Look, I always hated school. Here's another thing that happened to me when I was young.
Uh-huh.
I'm standing there at the bus stop when I'm just around between 12 and 13 years old. Everything happened. There were all these pivotal times in my life. But I'm sitting there and I'm wondering, what am I going to be when I grow up? I looked at all these, goat-eyed children waiting to get on the bus. And I think to myself, what am I going to be like when I grow up? Who am I going to be? What am I going to do? And here's that, not a voice, but a knowing. And the knowing said to me, you're going to be a teacher. And I said, are you kidding me? I hate school. I didn't like that answer.
Sure.
And look at me now.
Right.
So, yeah,
prophetic.
it was prophetic. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Wow. So this forthcoming book is or the next coming book, oncoming book, upcoming book. I'll get my words right.
All of the above.
All of the above. Sounds fascinating. Can you give us a little sneak peek at what's going on with this one?
Okay, so Echelon Black, Human Performance Optimization, Advanced Intuitive Decision Making. And this whole book, it's going to be about 300 pages, and I'm talking 8.5 by 11. So this is a lot of reading to do. But as soon as you start reading it, you start to realize, wait a minute, I have been immersed in a spiritual warfare my entire life. Mm-hmm. And people don't even think, well, that could possibly what I'm dealing with, you know? So for the military, I'm writing this book with my friend Colonel Tony Monaco, who's a real. He was in the invasion of Grenada. He was a paratrooper. This guy has been all over the world doing amazing stuff.
Wow.
But he and I started with him patriotoutreach.org to help people deal with the aftermath of war, post-traumatic stress. It is not a syndrome. It is a condition. Mm. And so since 2006, we've been offering the kind of meditation that I have just described to you. It doesn't have a pink elephant in it. It's just a simple exercise, focusing your attention, giving your attention to the present moment, staying anchored in the now moment through recycling your energy through your own body and not allowing it to bleed out. But the idea of human performance optimization means that when you're dealing with the enemy, and we're talking about both physically and spiritually, there are forces at work that you can become aware of. And I have a saying, and that is to detect and deflect. Because if you don't detect something, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You know, when you're dealing with warfare in general, the detection of a thing is optimum as opposed to being caught off guard. Mm-hmm. So what's involved in this book is advanced intuitive decision making, which allows you, you know, people used to say about me that I could see around corners. And I it's called intuition. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. We all have the potential for intuition, to be able to see just slightly ahead of the curve. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, you know, I'll tell you that there have been a number of times in my life where I'm driving on the freeway and something says to me, slow down. It's that same knowing. I slow down. Yeah. All of a sudden, zoom, a highway patrolman comes past me following somebody else, and that guy runs into the car in front of me. Oh. This has happened.
Yeah.
This has happened to me a number of times. There is an advanced warning system. You know, even dogs have it. I just watched a video about how dogs can sense danger. And there are a number of videos out there which shows that a dog will pull an owner away from a spot they're sitting in front of a cafe, and a car runs into their table.
Yes, yes.
Have you ever seen those?
I have. Yeah, they're just...
It's incredible.
It is.
But you think to yourself, oh, wow, how amazing. What a paranormal thing that must be. No, It really isn't. We all have that potential. And dogs are just slightly more tuned into the actual nature than we are. We are not living our true nature, Brent. Yeah. We haven't been able to. Something is oppressing us. And so Echelon Black it's designed for the military, but anybody could read it if they want to have an advantage over circumstance, because circumstance is determined by a lot of different factors.
Yeah. I think it sounds absolutely amazing because... I've been very blessed with that intuition as well. I've avoided many accidents, many bad situations just by that intuitive knowing. It just occurs. It's like, wow. So I can really, really relate to what you're talking about. And yeah, I mean, if we all, it's kind of the spider sense, right? Like Spider-Man.
That's what it is.
Yeah. That, wait, something's coming, and you react to it. And you got to pay attention to it because a lot of us are just tuned to dismiss things like that. But yeah, if you pay attention, I think it's brilliant. And I'm really excited to see that come out and how can it help people. That's amazing. I love that you've really broken this down. Like for me, I don't know how I would ever conceptualize it to describe it, but I love that you have, and that you've broken it down into an idea and a method and helping people awaken to that, because My God. Yeah, that's just amazing.
I will tell you something else that's so mind-boggling.
Yeah.
So my dad discovered this 65 years ago, and then there have been people who have applied it. Now, one of those who passed away within the last 5 years, I think, Dr. George Hader, he was in the military. He was a Navy medic, and he practiced psychiatry in the Navy for almost his entire life. But he used this technique for multiple personality disorder.
Oh.
Now, if you think about it objectively, the problem that we have is that there are other personalities that are crowding in on us, identities of other people, and that much of what we experience in terms of conflict, anxiety, and, people have, what do you call them, anxiety attacks.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do, and so they have to lean on somebody or take a drug or whatever, which you have to do until you get a hold of it. But Dr. Hader used to use this technique. He'd say, I want you to use this for 2 weeks and come back and see me. People come back, and sometimes people had more than one, some 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 personalities at work within them, and with different personality traits. These people would come back, and 3 or 4 of the personalities were gone.
Wow.
Until after a while, after meditating for 6 months, they would become their original self again. There is an original self that has been displaced. And this is also something that doctors have come to realize about personality cancer. Personality caused cancer. And there's a profile. If people want to look it up on Google or DuckDuckGo, personality cancer profile. So there are people that have cancer personalities, and you look at the traits, you go, oh my gosh, people that are easy pushovers, people that are full of resentment. There's certain things that cause a person to have a reduced immune system.
Oh, sure.
And so the same things are at play there, that they are struggling with forces they simply don't understand. And a lot of people literally die because they don't understand that there is a war being waged for the original self within, and that the struggle against it is what depletes them of their vital energy. So this is my book, War of Whispers, The Eternal Conflict for Freedom of the Human Soul. And again, my life, I started because I realized I wasn't going to live. You understand? I thought, what am I going to do? How am I going to survive? Because I was very accident prone. I had terrible accidents pretty much, until I was 18 years old. And that final accident just sent me on a journey to try to figure out how to survive this life.
Yeah. Wow.
So I'm coming up on 72 years old, and I think I've weathered it fairly well.
Yeah, you're doing brilliant for 72, brother. Nice job.
So, look, I got my problems. My back hurts, and I've got skin cancer and this and that and the other thing, but I'm still surviving. And I don't have an old mind. My mind is young.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, you're just doing some mental gymnastics here on this show, and you're blowing my mind. So I love talking to you, David, because you're just a very thoughtful and insightful mind, and I really appreciate you coming on the show. It's just always a pleasure.
Well, you bring it out of me, my friend.
Well, it's absolutely wonderful always to have you here. I hope you'll come back for visit number 3, and we can go further down the rabbit hole here, because this is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and if people want to find my books, it's at escapeyourmindsprison.com. All my books are there, and there's more about me. I've worked with a lot of very famous people during the course of my life, and I have retained their friendship in spite of myself.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate the time, and this has been absolutely amazing.
Brent, thanks so much for having me back.
All right, everybody, that's going to wrap it up for us today. So hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thank you again so much for all your love and support. And remember, if you want to follow the Paranormal Portal, probably the easiest way is to head over to paranormalportal.net. And that's the homepage for the Paranormal Portal. And you'll find links to all of our different social media and sites and information about the shows, including our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/paranormalportal. Or just look for Paranormal Portal on Google or whatever search engine, and you'll find links to our social media such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. So we're kind of all over the place, and we're spreading as well as we can. But anyway, thank you so much for the love and support. Y'all take care, and remember, we love y'all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Until next time.